Okay, so you're visiting San Antonio SeaWorld, but what are the insider tips and tricks that might make your day even better? Well, let's talk about those in today's video. And of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel and check out the SeaWorld vlog where my family visited SeaWorld. You can check that out here. Okay, you're visiting SeaWorld and you have a whole list of things you want to do. But what are the best tips and tricks for visiting SeaWorld? The first thing I want to share with you is when you first enter the park, you will have an option of visiting the dolphin and shark area before you even enter SeaWorld. I would highly recommend doing this first because it does close earlier than the park does. So if you're going all day like we did, I would do this first and then enter SeaWorld and do everything in SeaWorld. Also, on your way to the dolphin area, you'll find a set of bathrooms. Now, I don't know if this is like this all the time, but when I went, we chose to go to those bathrooms first before we did anything, and they were very clean. I also used these bathrooms at the very end of the day, and they were cleaner than most of the other bathrooms I used throughout the day. My thought is that they are kind of out of the way and probably are not used as often as many of the other bathrooms are. So if you want a clean bathroom option, I would check that one out first on the way to the dolphins, and then of course there are many in the park as well. Okay, food. For my family, we chose to do the all-day dining pass. With this pass, you're able to get an entree, a side or dessert, and a drink every 90 minutes.
Here we are getting our 2 o'clock meal. Check back in for the 4 o'clock meal coming soon.
Now, it does only work at certain restaurants in the park. So you will have to find those out ahead of time, or what we did was just ask a restaurant if it worked for our pass. About every 90 minutes to every 2 hours, we would go and grab food and actually take it with us as we were traveling around the park. This helped us not have to eat a big meal all at once and maybe not feel as good as we're walking around during the day. We really liked this option and highly recommend it. Now, another thing I would recommend is that you buy this pass before you go to the park. The line for purchasing passes was really long when we passed it. Thankfully, we had purchased ours ahead of time and we didn't have to stand on the long line. And I recommend that you do that as well. One thing I do want to point out is that when you are going to the restaurant that has the buffet, that also works for your bands, you do have to pay for everybody in your party who enters into the buffet area, whether or not they have a dining pass. You will also want to make sure you pay before you go into the buffet area to avoid any confusion. Water. You can grab water on the dining pass, and you can also grab water if you find a water fountain that works. We had a little bit of trouble finding a water fountain that actually worked, but we did find one over by the penguin area. So a couple times throughout the day, we actually went back over to that fountain and filled up our water bottles that we had previously gotten, so we had water throughout the day. Moving on to shows. When you visit any of the shows in the park, you are not allowed to take your stroller in with you. You will have to park it outside. So because of that, I highly recommend getting a bag that you can put all your valuables in and you can grab whenever you go down to one of the shows. And you don't have to take everything with you. My understanding is that you cannot bring large bags into the park anyway. So having small bags already prepared would be a great option for grabbing that when you park your stroller. We enjoyed the shows that we went to. I will mention the Sea Lions show in the afternoon was more geared toward children that were not really young and not older children as well. It was more of a show instead of the animals doing a ton of tricks. It still was fun to attend though. And on that point, when you visit the sea lions in the sea lion area, you have the option to purchase fish to feed the sea lions. At the time that we went, it was $7 for 4 fish. There was also a deal though where you could purchase 4 baskets all together if you wanted to purchase them in bulk. Alright, lastly, let's talk splash zones. At each show, there are seating available just for splash zone areas. Near the top, you may not get very wet, but the bottom areas and the middle areas tended to get pretty wet. So you might want to take that into account when you're choosing where to sit. If you don't want to be soaked, I would suggest sitting outside of the splash zone because you never know where the water is going to come from. And lastly, if you go on a very warm day and you just want to cool off, you can go over to the Atlantis ride and they have an area where you can stand and the roller coaster actually will splash you standing on the side when it goes down its big drop. This is a nice way to cool off when it's a really hot day. And lastly, because there is so much to do at SeaWorld, if you are only spending a day there, I would look up the shows and the attractions ahead of time and kind of had my day planned out before I went so you could experience as much as you can in that one day. Now, my family and I went for 11 hours. And it was warm and we were tired by the end of the day, but we had a great time and the kids did as well. Thanks for watching this video, and if you have any other great tips and tricks, leave them in the comments and I will see you in our next video. Bye.